thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source, peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Thank you, Richard. That was wonderful. So welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And today we have a very special guest, Reverend Gisela Sannar. We're going to be speaking with her in a few minutes, but right now I would like to invite our practitioner of the day, Reverend Leslie Massapus, to do our opening prayer, our invocation, and share her quote and her wisdom for today.
Please close your eyes and join me in consciousness as we give thanks for being able to be in this universe of unlimited potential. We know that we have gazillions of possibilities that are at our disposal, and that they are all God created, and that our oneness with that infinite power allows us to use these possibilities. And we know that with God, nothing is impossible. And we are thankful for this philosophy of life that we all live called the science of mind. For it increases our awareness and our oneness with that infinite power. And it is in this gratitude that we begin today, giving thanks for all life and our part in it. And so we release these words into law, knowing that they are so. And together we say, and so it is. Our quote from the day comes from the Science of Mind textbook. It says, the law through which man operates is infinite, but man appears to be finite. That is, he has not yet evolved to a complete understanding of himself. He is unfolding from a limitless potential that can bring into his experience only that which he can conceive. There is no limit to the law, but there appears to be a limit to man's understanding of it. As his understanding unfolds, his possibilities of an attainment will increase. And it is things like this center and our teaching that help us to increase in our understanding of the unlimitedness of God and ourselves. So let's now go into a moment of silence as we prepare for this service. We now bring our time of silence to a close as we do the monthly affirmation. And as I said, please join me in saying it. I live in wide-eyed wonder of the possibilities of life. Today, I express the possibilities of the wholeness of life within me. I am grateful for all the good that I can imagine and all that I have yet to imagine as it becomes my expanding experience of good. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was beautiful. I love that quote. Holmes is always full of wisdom. So we have some music from Richard. Take it away, Richard.
Yeah, here's a great tune by Harold Darlin, Johnny Mercer, something called Accentuate the Positive. You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. You've got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith, or pandemonium's liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the well, Noah in the ark, what did they do? Just when everything seems so dark, they said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirm, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. The goal is clear, I must repeat. The blessings flow and life is sweet. The thing is this, I look within, I'll find it all it's always been. You've gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between.
Woohoo!
Yes.
My favorite line of that song, Richard, is don't mess with Mr. In Between.
Commit.
Commit, have conviction, make a decision. There's so many ways that we say that in our Science of Mind philosophy, our Science of Mind teaching. So this morning we have a special treat. Oh, for those of you that have just logged on, welcome to our online service for One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. I know a lot of people watch the recording later. And if you are not familiar with our special guest, uh, Gisela Sannar, Reverend Gisela Sannar, and Dr. Tom Sannar were the ministers of One Heart, One Mind before me, for a long time before me. So, and they, under their leadership, the center thrived, and people were nurtured and loved. So I would like to um, welcome Dr. Gisela, or Reverend Gisela. Is it Dr. or Reverend? I know, I'm not sure.
It's both.
It's both. Okay, good to know. And I want to just to kind of explain how we're going to do our service this morning. We've been all month talking about the theme of open to possibilities. We've explored all kinds of ideas. We've been focusing mostly on the spiritual practice of visioning and how visioning opens us up through our connection to the divine, to what we have not even ever given thought to before, that infinite possibility that is yet to be in our lives or in our world in general. And so I have a series of questions that I'm going to invite Dr. Gisela to answer and to just elaborate on. So again, welcome, Dr. Gisela. And the first question that I have for her is, so how do you personally, I love to bring everything back to our personal experience, because then it makes it real for us in our lives, but how do you personally reconcile or draw together a belief in infinite possibilities, which of course the science of mind teaching philosophy teaches, and when we are confronted with challenges in our daily lives of all sorts, you know, maybe it's disease or lack or relationship issues, conflict, whatever it may be, how do you share your experience with me or with us and your wisdom, reconcile a belief in the infinite possibilities available to us when the challenges we face in our daily lives sometimes seem so unsolvable or so unmanageable?
Well, first I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be with my beloved spiritual community of One Heart, One Mind. And I want to start with the basics, with the truth of our being, and to fully recognize that there is one life, one infinite spiritual divine presence. We can call it God, by whatever name we choose, to recognize that that oneness is. It is all there is. And we live and move and have our being in this oneness as expressions of this oneness. Like a fish in the ocean, we are immersed in it and we draw our life from it. And it is really our responsibility to give back to it. So to daily really practice the presence of God. And we can call it by many, many different names. And I think as long as we are in this time-space experience of daily living, we develop a relationship to this one. And we can call it, I personally call it, divine, infinite loving presence. Now, there was a minister in Hawaii in the 80s and 90s. She was quite charismatic. Her name was Helen Street. And she called God Sweetie, divine Sweetie. And she made it so personal. And she would say, Sweetie gives me everything that I need, that I can possibly ask for. But I am also inspired by Walter Starkey, who wrote the wonderful book, The Double Threat. And he specifically talks about this double threat. We live here on earth, and we are, as you said, Michelle, we are challenged every day with all kinds of stuff that happens. And at the same time, we realize the allness and the infinite presence of our being. And so as when we are in our daily lives, we have this relationship with God till we come to that place of pure realization that God is all there is. So for me, it's really easy in a way to reconcile the two. When I am confronted with the challenges of daily life, and oftentimes I get stuck and I forget, then I do remind myself. That God is all there is. And just as we grow, when we are first born and we develop, we grow physically, we learn to grow emotionally and mentally, and we also grow spiritually. And when I am really stuck at times and I can't immediately retrieve that uh, that truth of my being, then I call upon my spiritual community. I reach out to others, and I never hesitate reaching out to others and say, remind me, help me in this moment to know the truth. So it's never either or, it's always both at the same time. There are times when we are identifying more closely with what's going on at the time. But that's why I think it's so important to make it a daily practice to, it's like fueling the pump, getting ourselves nurtured and to remember that God is and God is all there is. And it is really not just our opportunity and our privilege, but I think it's our responsibility to do and to become and to be all that we can be and all that we are meant to be. So that's what I want to say to this.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. And yeah, really, really heard that. So this is, you kind of answered the second question that I have for you, but maybe we could elaborate a little bit more on it. So, okay, so we're human, right? And here we are, we're in the midst of some situation, circumstance or event that has just come up. And I think there's an old idea in metaphysics that we never look at the negative. We never look at something that is a challenge or is wrong, that we always have to keep in this positive state of mind and open up to what's next. And yet here we are in the middle of it. I cannot tell you that I don't have a broken leg if I have a broken leg. So how can we? Maybe this is just asking a kind of just from a practical standpoint, or I don't know, I'm sure you have some wisdom to offer. How can we acknowledge what is? This is what is, without sticking our head in the sand and pretending we're ostriches. How can we acknowledge what is and still open up to what can be, to the infinite possibilities that can come of this event, or that we can open up to?
Well, if we just say embracing what is, it can be looked at if people are really stuck and identify with the conditions of the situation, then they really limit themselves and are not open to infinite possibilities of good. And some people, I think, like to thrive in that, and they draw onto themselves the pity and the sympathy of others, and they stay in the condition. And in doing so, they deprive themselves of a way out. There is a statement by Browning, but man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what is a heaven for? We should always aim higher, higher. And especially when we are in the midst of a great difficulty. And the daily practice of practicing that the presence is infinite and unlimited comes into play, when we are stuck, to remind ourselves that is an opportunity. It's an opportunity uh, to open ourselves up to greater possibilities, to a solution, to a healing, whatever it may be. And it's always available. I believe that all of life, regardless of what the experience appears to be, is in the furtherance of helping us to grow spiritually, to become more and more at one with the true nature of our being, with this, which is infinite. We can claim for ourselves all the attributes that Troad assigns to us, assigns to spirit, to God: love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, joy, harmony. All of that is available to us. And especially when something happens. I like Thich Nhat Hanh's saying, in this moment, I choose peace. When I fret, when I worry about one of my kids or about any situations, and I try to find a solution, I know I can't find it while I'm worrying. And then I really practice, I discipline myself enough to say, in this moment, I choose peace. And I repeat it over and over again till my intellect can no longer deny the truth. Peace is in this moment. And out of that beingness, when I experience peace, then something can unfold. Then something can evolve. God is always there. We live the life of God. God is all there is. So, and again, avail ourselves of support that is there. Read something. The daily practice of taking time for yourself to just maybe read something or meditate or enjoy music or go take a walk, something to get us out of that place of feeling stuck. And especially this year, this past year in 2020, when all of us experienced challenges like we had never experienced before. And we saw it happening to our families. It is so important not to lose sight of the truth of our being. It's always all around us, within us, through us, and as us.
Thank you, Gisela, for that. I love that idea of telling ourselves the truth over and over until it just is established in us as a truth, a conviction that we have, with an unshakable conviction. Thanks for sharing that. Really, I sent you this wonderful quote from Ernest
Yes.
Holmes. I'm going to share it so everybody can read it. I'll read it to everyone. Let me get it up here. And here's the quote. It's on page 44 in the Science of Mind. And the quote is, "The universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much is possible as we can conceive according to law.
Mhm.
Should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, we should yet receive only that which we are ready to understand." So only what we are able to embody. And so I'm wondering, can you give us an example from your own life when you conceived a greater possibility that you had not previously conceived, and how it changed your life experience? So whatever that might have looked like for you in your personal life.
I actually had a couple experiences. The first one I want to share is from the time I was really little, I always knew that God loved me. And it wasn't taught, because when I grew up, I lived in communist East Germany, and religion was very much discouraged. And my parents didn't attend church. They only went twice a year for Christmas and Easter. And I went sometimes by myself, but somehow I knew that God loved me. And then when my family escaped to West Germany and I attended school there, and we moved to a predominantly Catholic community. About 95% or 90% of the entire population was Catholic. And then were the few Protestants and Jews intermixed, and I was Protestant. But my philosophy teacher was a Catholic priest, and he loved the saints, and he taught philosophy with kind of Catholicism mixed in, and the life of the saints uh, was so beautifully demonstrated. They struggled oftentimes greatly with personal challenges, but they had this inner knowingness that God was the presence in their life, not just God, but the love of God, the love of God. So I had an amazing experience when I was a teenager in my 17 years old. Somebody came to my school and said, you can apply for an exchange year in the United States. And at the time, I had no idea what the requirements were. I had no idea of how many students were going to be picked and how many applied. I just had this real beginner's mind that anything was possible. And I imagined, talking about visioning, I just imagined that I would be chosen. And as it turned out, about almost 80 people applied and they picked 4, and I got to go. And we could write down a preference of the states where we might want to be. And I picked California because I was the furthest away and I knew about Hollywood. And the second choice was Florida. I thought, if not California, then Florida. It's a sunshiny state. And the experience was really life-changing for me. Um, all the students from Africa, from Western Europe, from Israel, from Pakistan, from India, we all got together in Rotterdam, got on a cruise ship of only these exchange students, and traveled across the Atlantic Ocean, arrived in Harbor, New York. And I was with all these students from all these different countries who were going to spend a year in the United States. And that in itself just opened me up to the diversity of different people. There were the Muslims from India, and of course the Hindus and the Africans, and from all the different languages that we spoke. And anyway, and I had a most amazing year. And at the end of the year, we all the students that had spent the year in California, we got together in Sacramento, got in on a bus, and for 3 weeks traveled through the United States, stayed with different families in different states, and ended up in Washington, D.C. We got to meet President Kennedy, just our little group of students. And then we got back on the cruise ship, and for the next 10 days, sailed back to Europe. And this is where my experience really happened. When we were on the ship on the way back, we were all so excited to share our experiences with each other. And there was this one student, she was, I think, from Pakistan. And as we were all walking around waiting for our turn to speak, she just observed. And she was so in tune with each person who spoke. She paid full attention to each person. She didn't seem to have the need to speak herself. And at that moment, it had such an impact on my life. At that moment, I made the decision that I wanted to be like her. I wanted to become a good listener. And that I really took on. And also, it really developed in me, and it wasn't a conscious decision that I made. It was just kind of an inner knowingness. It developed in me a great, great appreciation for people, because we were such a mixed group, from different backgrounds, different experiences, from all these different countries, different languages that we spoke. And yet there was a commonality. We all had something in common. And that really had an amazing impact on me. So that was one experience. And then the second one was in 1988. Tom and I had an opportunity to participate for 1 week in an experience called Mastery Foundation. And this experience was held at a most beautiful Catholic retreat in Pacific Palisades. So for 1 week, there were probably around 30 of us that came together. And the point of this experience was that there had been some theologians who were connected with Berkeley. And they would meet together on a weekly basis, a priest, a rabbi, a Christian minister, Buddhist, from different religious traditions. And they decided together, how can technology be developed that communicates spirituality irregardless of religious dogma? How can we find something that gets really to the truth of the matter and connects us with spirit, with God's love, regardless of all the different religious dogma and doctrines and teachings? And they turned to Werner Erhard to develop some kind of technology for that. So the Mastery Foundation experience was to bring us into this experience of beingness, of experiencing our true spirit within. Was very interesting. Mary Morrissey was in attendance, Catholic nuns were in attendance, was a Catholic priest, there were some Jewish people there were some Buddhists, there were some people who were agnostics, this little group. And the presenters of that experience were a priest, a rabbi, a Christian minister, Southern Baptist, and somebody else. And Tom and I, we were so anxious to learn. So we had our notebook, and immediately they said, no notes being taken, put all that aside. It's not about learning anything. It's about being. And through the process of this whole week, we literally learned to give up beliefs, everything that we believed. And I remember Mary Morrissey's husband, Haven, he said in the middle of the week, he said, I don't know, what is this all about? Can you tell me what this is all about? What are we doing here? He said, if I don't have a breakthrough, I'm going to go to Disneyland. I'm going to leave and go to Disneyland. And we were asking ourselves, what's happening? What's happening? And at the end, they even asked us to give up our belief in God. Now, it was not that they say, now give up your belief in God, but they literally trained us in this experience. It was amazing to get to that place of complete openness and allness at the same time. I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't really explain how this happened. But each one of us was able to get to that place of nothingness and allness. It seems contradictory, it seems paradoxical, but that's exactly, and out of that experience, something came to me, and I believe that was my inner vision and mission at the same time. It just came as clearly as somebody spoke these words, and it said, I stand for love and healing. And that really became I just knew it. I just knew that that's what it is. And that's what it was. And Tom had his own, and every person at the end was able to stand in front of the group and briefly share what the experience was. So I'm really so blessed in a way that I have known that God is and God is all there is. And that regardless of what happens, I am the beloved of spirit. And so is everyone. So is every single person. And anyone who forgets it can reach out and say, tell me again, remind me, I'm forgetting. Right now I'm stuck. And we all get stuck. I get stuck and I get frustrated and whatever. But underneath it all, it doesn't last that long. Underneath it all, I just know that I know that I know. And so that really has made all the difference in my life. And I see in every person truly that infinite love of God. I remember when I was in third year class, in practitioner class, and we were sharing, and one person said, I wonder, I had this experience and it's frustrating me. She said, I was in a restaurant and there was this man sitting at a table by himself, and he seemed very unhappy, very frustrated. And so I decided, she said, so I decided to send him some love because he was kind of rude to the waitress. And so I decided to just send him love and wanted to make him feel better. And as I was sending him love, all of a sudden he stood up and he threw some money on the table and he left. And she said, what is this all about? She asked. And the interesting thing is we were all wondering, what happened? I mean, she sent him love and he gets up and he is frustrated, even more frustrated, and he leaves. And the minister said, you got it all wrong. You had to think that you had to fix him. What you should have known is that the love was already within him. It wasn't you who needed to send him love because you still saw him. You labeled him as somebody who was in need of love and that you could fix it. You forgot that the love that you wanted to give him was already within him. So you saw him, you saw the need, you focused on the condition. And in our treatment, we need to move away from the condition. We need to move away from it and get to the place of realizing the truth, of realization. And then we can speak the truth of that. So I just wanted to share that, oftentimes, and I do the same thing with my children at times. I think I need to treat more. I need to fix it. And that's the wrong approach. We need to realize that they can draw to themselves everything they need for their own well-being. And so we recognize the truth of someone's nature, which is divine, which is love, which is infinite possibility, infinite potential. And then they will draw everything to themselves. So whenever we think we need to fix something, it's the wrong approach. We need to say all the answers are already given. Before you ask, I have answered. So that's what I just wanted to say about that. And then Ernest Holmes says, of course, everything is consciousness. We can only have as much as we can accept. And he made the statement, we all know it, how big is your dipper? When we dip into this infinite sea of unlimited possibility, infinite possibilities, how much are we willing to take? And then remind ourselves, aim higher, be more, express more, give more, enjoy more, love more, be more. So
Oh,
that's
that's
what I just
beautiful.
wanted to say about that.
So, so wonderful. I needed to hear the part about our children and talk about, in the quote, it said, should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, you were just an open vessel for all of that wisdom of the universe to be poured over you. What a fabulous story about the experience with the workshop where you were invited to have no attachments and be nothing and yet be everything at the same time. How beautiful is that? Oh, you really filled me up there, Gisela. Dr. Gisela. So before I open it up, in case anybody has any questions that they would personally like to ask you, do you have any other wisdom that you'd like to share with us just about living a life that is daily open to the possibilities and the infinite joys that are available to us through this present that you've been so eloquently speaking
I
about?
think for me personally, a daily spiritual practice is essential. Just like I take care of my body, as I nurture and feed my body, I need to feed my spirit. I need to feed my soul and to find things that connect us. And it's different for different people. And recently I saw this wonderful, wonderful documentary of this concert pianist. She comes from Easter Islands, which are the remotest place of being anybody can live, of a couple thousand miles away from Chile. And she grew up there. I think the population is about 7,000. And she found that gift of music. In the beginning, when she was growing up, the island didn't even have a piano, and then somebody came from the mainland and brought a piano, and she loved that, and she studied. And anyway, after many years abroad and studying with some of the most renowned teachers, she returned to the island and she lives there, and she and her husband developed a school free for music. And so it's different for different people. Like Thoreau and Emerson, they had this amazing connection with nature, and that's where they found their inspiration. And then I saw a documentary, and you probably, some of you may have seen it. It recently was shown. It's called My Octopus Teacher. And it's about this marine scientist who dives down to the ocean, and he develops a relationship with an octopus. And he visits the octopus, and the octopus responds to him, and they develop this relationship. And so it's so different for different people. For some it's music, for some it's painting, the creative arts, for some it's nature. And for me, sometimes my greatest inspiration comes from just being with people, or it may be our pet or whatever. But I think a daily spiritual practice to connect, and the happiest we are and the most effective we are is when things go well in our life, and to really notice those moments. We oftentimes pay attention when something is bothering us, when things are not going so well, and then we give so much attention to it. But give attention to moments when everything feels so good, and really allow yourself to feel that presence of God. Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God, to feel that. And then one of the things that I've been practicing for years and years and years is gratitude. And I think I have embodied that. I mean, and recently I heard Thich Nhat Hanh say, when I brush my teeth, I'm so grateful that I have teeth to brush. That at this age, at this time in my life, I still have teeth to brush. And to be so grateful for all the things that are happening, all the things that we have been blessed with, to notice. I bring in a bouquet of flowers, and I talk to my plants, and I'm so, so grateful. But then one other thing has always been, I mean, not always, but for many, many years, been very important to me, is to be grateful for what is yet to be, for the infinite possibilities that exist each and every moment. We have to remember, as Ernest Holmes says, every moment is a new moment, is a new moment of creation, a new moment of causation, regardless of what has happened. If in this moment I change my mind, I initiate a new causation, a new moment. So in the morning, I say, I'm so grateful that today I interact lovingly with everyone I meet. I'm so grateful that today I have enough time to accomplish all the things that are on my schedule, on my busy schedule. I'm so grateful that today I remain patient. I put it out there. I'm not always patient, but I'm grateful for it. I set the tone for it. I kind of uh, create the possibility for all the things that I claim to be coming into my experience of good, to becoming. So that's a practice, and just as we take care of ourselves to feed the soul and feed the spirit, we always ask ourselves, what is food for my soul? What feeds my soul? And as I mentioned, it may be different things for different people. But the
Thank you.
infinite possibilities are always there, always, for each and every one of us.
Thank you, Gisela. That was beautiful. It brought me to tears at one point. It was very inspirational. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. So we probably have time for a question or two if anyone has something that they would like to ask. Gisela, let me move off of speaker view so I can see if anyone is raising their hand. Colleen, were you raising your hand or were you?
I just wanted to second Gisela's review of My Octopus Teacher. It is an Oscar nominated documentary. The Oscars are at the end of April. It's so beautiful. The marine biologist himself is a beautiful soul. They are on a bungalow right on the beach in South Africa. And she's right. He develops an intimate relationship with an octopus. It is so beautifully filmed. He's obviously the person doing the photographing and filming, and I've watched it twice already. It's beautiful.
Thanks for sharing that, Colleen. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask Dr. Gisela? If not, we can do it during our social time, but please don't be shy. Well, once again, then I don't see any hands. So I just want to say once again, thank you. I am deeply, deeply grateful for the wisdom that you have shared with us this morning. It was very, very inspirational and moved me. And I would venture guess everyone very deeply. And I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for agreeing to be with us today in this role. I really appreciate it. So this is going to be our time of conscious giving. If you are giving financially to our center, I invite you to imagine, because if you're giving virtually, you're probably not holding any money in your hand, but imagine that you are holding your gift over your heart and in your hand. And I do want to say that there are several ways that you can give to the center. I'm going to put up the little slide here. Here we are. You can give on Venmo, which I generally do. It's so easy and direct, or on Tithely, or you can send a check, a snail mail check to our assistant minister, Jim Massapust, and he deposits all those gifts for us. And then I want to share the affirmation that I'm going to invite you to say. Oh, so I do want to just say that I am so grateful to everyone who continues to support our center, and I'm grateful to everyone that is about to support our center and continue in that cycle of giving and receiving, because we know that as we give in the attitude and the level of vibration that we give in, that is what we receive, how we receive and what we receive. So I invite you to say the affirmation with me. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful, and so it is. Thank you so much for everything that you give. It's greatly appreciated, and it continues to feed and support our being able to come together in community to support each other, and as we shift our own lives, we shift the world. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm going to invite Reverend Maureen Bishop. She is a reverend. She's an Emerson minister and a practitioner with our Center for Spiritual Living. I'm going to invite her to give our closing prayer.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. So this is our time for a benediction, some good words. And I'd like you all to just join me in breath, breathing in, and just knowing the consciousness of life, breath, love, right here, right now. We synchronize our consciousness in giving great gratitude to this fellowship that we are creating, One Heart, One Mind. And we give great gratitude for Reverend Leslie and Reverend Dr. Gisela and Reverend Michelle and Richard James for today's presentation of amazing spiritual ideas. And I especially want to thank Reverend Leslie for reminding us that there are a gazillion ideas, gazillion possibilities, and they're all ours. So we open up that dipper and we open it so that it is a gazillion times greater than we could even imagine. So I am very grateful for all of this. Thank you again for the ideas and the uplifting and for this opportunity to join together in love, as love. We are the delight of God. So as we step forward, we bring this delight into every person's life that we meet. So I release my word, knowing it is acted upon as I have spoken it. I release, I let go, I know it's so. Together we say, so it is.
So it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Maureen. That was beautiful. I'm going to ask Reverend Leslie if there's any announcements that she'd like to make.
Yes, we have a new presentation that's happening tomorrow evening at 6:30. That's been put together by Reverend Michelle, and I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about what it's about.
Well, for years I've been thinking about putting together something that kind of married the principles of the 12-step program and the principles of metaphysics, new thought, science of mind in general, because I believe they really are compatible and support each other. And so I put together a program called Spiritual Recovery, a metaphysical journey through the 12 steps. And I'm kind of expanding on the idea of what recovery means, or what an addiction is, because there are many things that we as human beings get addicted to in the flavor of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Ourselves. We do tend to get into these ruts of thinking and feeling and being. And anytime we look outside ourselves for something to make us feel better on the inside, we're looking in the wrong direction. And so that's what my program is going to talk about tomorrow, and go through each step and talk about how it applies to our own lives and how we can look at it through the lens of metaphysics. So the link is in the e-newsletter. If you have not received it for any reason, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to send it to you. I did post it on Meetup. If you're a member of Meetup, it'll be on there, and a little blurb about what it's about. So like I said, if for some reason you haven't gotten the link, I'll send it out on the One Heart, One Mind email list as well. But it should be, I've been working on it a lot, and it should be an interesting time. So everybody, no matter whether or not you've had in the past or currently a problem with alcohol or drugs or gambling or whatever addiction that we think of, that is broadened to expand to include old patterns of thinking and feeling and being that are holding us back. So I invite you to attend.
Our Tuesday evening group, we're going to be led by Reverend Michelle, Envisioning for Your Life. And that is at 6 o'clock. And then Wednesday is the continuation of Maureen's book that she's covering, What If It All Goes Right? And Maureen, what segment are you going to be covering on Wednesday?
We're doing the fourth and last segment of the book, and we're going to be wrapping up the ideas and the creative process. We'll be talking more about what if all goes right, what if up. So we will also talk about what ifing downers, but the emphasis will be on what ifing uppers. and it's a creative process. It's a fun process. And you can get as outrageous as you want to be, because I think the creative process is open for, the universe is open for a little delight.
Hey, thank you, Maureen. Are there any other announcements? Okay, Richard, we're ready for our closing song.
Okay, you want to put the lyrics up, Michelle? Or? Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With love as our power, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.
Woohoo! I miss everybody standing in a circle and holding their arms up. Soon we'll be able to do that. We haven't done the peace song in a long time, and since it's an old favorite, I thought we'd share that one. Oh, and I did want to say that if you know anybody that has